Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahabushai, Bahasham, Rakahak Wadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahabushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'm going to start it off with an article from endtimeheadlines.org titled, Chilling AI Predicts Future Nuclear War with Attacks on London, Moscow, and Washington, and there will be nuclear destruction as well as World War III. It's all a part of biblical prophecy. This is Revelation chapter 9, verse 12. One woe or destruction is past, referring to World War I. And behold, there come two woes more hereafter. World War II, which is also past, and World War III, which is quickly coming and will go nuclear. And the two main combatants of this third woe is going to be the United States of America, which biblically is known as Babylon the Great, as well as Russia, which biblically has several names. Gog in Ezekiel chapter 38, and the North Country in Jeremiah chapter 50. And Apostle Tahar has deemed 2023 to be the hopeful year that all the prophecies will be fulfilled. And some of the major prophecies are nuclear destruction and World War III. And Abaratazah, that 2023 is the year. But when we see articles like this, it just goes to show that our salvation is nearer than when we believed. Hey, we're almost out of this final captivity, Akim. And you few sincere sisters out there, before our salvation in the kingdom of heaven is established. Artificial intelligence has offered a horrifying vision of what the world faces in nuclear Armageddon and World War III, responding to prompts such as nuclear bomb, war, and apocalypse. The AI tool produced a series of truly grim pictures which could offer a glimpse into the future. Pictures show devastating cityscapes burning with what could be nuclear fire and grim-looking soldiers amongst the ruins. Mushroom clouds rise over desolate landscapes, including one seen looming beside the U.S. Capitol building in Washington, D.C. Strange-looking machines rumble in what the AI envisioned could be the weapons of the future, and lone figures walk amongst eerie, unrecognizable hellscapes when the AI was asked who it thinks could be the last man on Earth. Huge fireballs are seen descending toward burning cities in what could be a nuclear attack. Soldiers walk amongst ruined landscapes as aircraft, appearing to be giant quadcopter drones, fly overhead. And when asked about what could happen to London, it produced what appears to be an image of Big Ben and the House of Parliament. And another image shows what could be Oxford or Regent Street utterly deserted as it's left in total ruin. Other images show a horde of hopeless-looking people stood amongst the ruins of an unidentified city. Piles of rubble surround them as they hunker beneath the ruins of what may have once been a skyscraper. And one chilling image shows the Washington Monument, two of them with mushroom clouds rising around them. Massive vehicles are seen hauling huge missiles in the AI-generated images. Enormous tank-like machines are also seen in the pictures. Could this really be what the world will look like during a nuclear apocalypse in World War III? The AI system, of course, just responds to the limited prompts given to it rather than world events. But right now, the talk of Armageddon has been compared to the height of the Cold War. And remember, one woe is past, and behold, two woes come hereafter. And when we go to the source, we can see some of these apocalyptic images that the AI generated. That's about it. But like I opened up the video saying, nuclear apocalypse, nuclear destruction, as well as World War III, is all biblical prophecy, and nuclear missiles will be shot to the ends of the earth. And we know through the scriptures that every place where the biblical Edomites, or so-called white people, dwell will be hit by nuclear missiles. Now let's get into these precepts. This is Revelation chapter 8, verses 6 to 7. And the seven angels which had the seven trumpets prepared themselves to sound. And this is dealing with the final destruction to come of this current age, or a rulership of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites, before the coming age or rulership of the children of Israel, which consists of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans in the kingdom of heaven. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood. Talking about that, the fire of those nuclear missiles, and they were cast upon the earth. And the third part of the trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up. And while, of course, trees and grass are going to get burnt up wherever nuclear missiles hit, this is talking about people, more specifically, the third part of men, because in the scriptures, you have three classifications of people. One third part being the sons of God, the children of Israel. The second third being the sons of men, which is speaking of the other heathen nations, such as the Moabites, the so-called Chinese people, the Ishmaelites, the so-called Arabs, the Africans, who are the biblical Hamites, etc., etc. And the third part, the final third part, the sons of the wicked, you Edomites. So as it says, and they were cast upon the earth, and the third part of the trees was burnt up, and green grass was burnt up. So like I just said, everywhere Edomites dwell is going to get hit with nuclear missiles. And now let's go into some precepts showing that trees and grass can represent people in the scriptures. This is Mark chapter 8, verses 22 to 24. And this is talking about when Yahushai Hamashiach, whom the world ignorantly refers to as so-called Jesus Christ, healed a blind Israelite. And he cometh to Bethsaida, speaking of Yahushai, and they bring a blind man unto him, and besought him to touch him. And he took the blind man by the hand, and led him out of the town. And when he had spat on his eyes, and put his hands upon him, he asked him if he saw aught. And he looked up and said, I see men as trees walking. A third part of the trees getting burned up. As it says in Isaiah chapter 28, precept must be upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. And this is a very allegoric and parabolic and symbolic book. You can't just read the scriptures like a novel from front to back. Some parts take place here, some parts take place there, and are mixed around. And you have to be able to put it together through the Spirit to understand what certain precepts are saying. But now let's go to the grass. This is Isaiah chapter 40, verses 6 to 7. The voice said, Cry. And he said, What shall I cry? All flesh is grass, and all the goodliness thereof as the flower of the field. The grass withereth, the flower fadeth, because the Spirit of Yahweh bloweth upon it. Surely the people is grass. So once more, in Revelation chapter 8, verse 7, and they were cast up, the first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire, nuclear fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth. The third part of the trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up. The third part of men, the sons of the wicked, everywhere the Edomites dwell will be hit with nuclear missiles. As I said in this article, the AI predicted a future where nuclear attacks took place on London, Moscow, and Washington. And who are the leaders of these nations and their capitals? Edomites. But now I'm going to go to Revelation chapter 16, verses 3 to 6. And the second angel poured out his vial upon the sea, and it became as the blood of a dead man, and every living soul died in the sea. And the third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and fountains of waters, and they became blood. And I heard the angel of the waters say, Thou art righteous, O Lord, which art and wast and shall be, because thou hast judged thus. For they have shed the blood of the saints and the prophets, and thou hast given them blood to drink, for they are worthy. So now it's talking about seas and rivers and waters being judged for shedding the blood of the saints and the prophets. And the saints, of course, are speaking of the children of Israel, those that have made a covenant with the Most High, as it says in Psalms chapter 50, verse 5. So what is this talking about? The third part of the waters, the third part of the seas getting judged. Again, speaking about the third part of men, the sons of the wicked, the Edomites. This is Isaiah 57, verses 20 to 21. But the wicked whom the earth has been given into the hands of in Job chapter 9, verse 24, the border of wickedness in Malachi 1, verse 4, the Edomites are like the troubled sea when it cannot rest, whose waters cast up mire and dirt. There is no peace, saith my power, to the wicked. Point blank, period. So again, speaking about everywhere the Edomites dwell getting hit with nuclear missiles. And then also besides that, the waters and the rivers and drinking systems in these different places that aren't completely destroyed are going to become irradiated and poisoned. And any survivors that try to drink of it are what? Going to die of radiation sickness. This is Revelation chapter 8, verse 11. And the name of the star is called Wormwood, which I believe is, actually, let's just get it real quick. I don't want to butcher it. Revelation 8 and 11. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. And when we go into the Strongs, it's G89.4 Apsinthos. Wormwood, the name of the star which fell into the waters and made them bitter. Bitterness, i.e., figuratively, calamity, destruction. So what? Bitter. And the name of the star is called Wormwood, bitterness. And the third part of the waters became wormwood. Hey. And many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. Like I just said, when these nuclear missiles are shot to the ends of the earth and definitely hit everywhere where the third part of the men, the third part of the sea, the trees and the grass dwells, hey, those water systems that survive or any type of drinkable water in those areas will be bitter. They will be poisoned, irradiated. And as it says, and many men died of the waters because they were bitter. Go back to here. But hey, we truly are living in the times when these prophecies are going to come to their fulfillment. Again, 2023 has been deemed the hopeful year that all these prophecies come to pass, which is a very big statement that was made in the spirit through the Apostle Tahar, because how I perceived it is if all the prophecies don't come to pass in 2023, damn near all of them will, and salvation is going to take place shortly thereafter. And one of these major prophecies to take place is this nuclear destruction, that third woe, World War III, where definitely everywhere these Edomites dwell is going to be hit by nuclear missiles. And I can't tell you exactly the extent of the destruction that's going to take place in everywhere the Edomites dwell, but I can tell you, because it says it in scriptures, that two places are going to be completely wiped off the face of the earth. The land of Israel is going to be purged of everything there, so it can be cleansed of all the wickedness that those Amalekite Edomites, calling themselves the people of the Most High living there, have committed. And then the children of Israel are going to come back in. The true children of Israel are going to come back into that land, and it's going to be inhabited again. And life is going to spring forth from it again. It's going to be purified. But the United States of America, Babylon the Great, is going to get hit with 200 million nuclear missiles, which is going to turn it into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and then a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland afterwards, where man, woman, or child will never set foot on ever again. A vast desert where only desert creatures are going to dwell in after a time. But now I'm going to go to an article on FoxNews.com titled, Putin Readies World's Most Powerful Satan II Nuclear Missile for Combat Duty. Russian President Vladimir Putin looks to overhaul war effort in Ukraine as forces flag on front lines. Like I said at the beginning of the video, the two main combatants during the third woe is going to be the U.S. and Russia is going to overcome the United States and lead these other nations, not just its allies, but also the allies of the U.S., which are going to turn against her at some point during World War III and ally themselves with Russia in shooting those 200 million nuclear missiles onto the U.S. And these Satan IIs are going to be some of the main bad boys that's going to rock this wicked place. I believe they said that one Satan II missile can destroy an area with the size of Texas, and I believe France as well. And remember, one of those warheads on a missile contains multiple warheads. Russian President Vladimir Putin said that the Kremlin is working to ready what he previously described as the world's most powerful warhead, the intercontinental ballistic Satan II missile for combat duty as the war in Ukraine rages on. I'm going to just hit the main parts in this article. The Russian president championed Moscow's stockpiles of avant-garde hypersonic warheads and said Russia will continue to develop its hypersonic missiles with unique characteristics unmatched in the world. Putin also said Russia would soon ready its RS-28 Sarmat, dubbed Satan II by Western officials, for combat duty for the first time, though he did not specify when this would occur. In early January of next year, the admiral of the Soviet fleet, Gorshkov frigate, will start combat duty, he added, noting it will carry sea-based hypersonic missiles without equal in the world. Point blank period. One woe is past, and behold, there come two woes more hereafter. This is Joel chapter 2. I'm going to read verses 1 to 6. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain, which is exactly what the true men of the Lord, the prophets of the Most High, chiefly through GMS or Great Millstone, as well as the brothers that come in the spirit of GMS are doing, by going out onto the highways and byways preaching this word, as well as putting up video epistles like this online, telling you Israelites, as well as you heathens, of the terrible times to come of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai through the scriptures, and what the hopeful elect can do to have salvation from this destruction, and what the judgment's going to be for the wicked of our people and you heathens, for your iniquity that you've been committing, and the hard-headedness of you Israelites in wanting to be rebellious and not want to return under your power, but live after the ways of these heathen nations. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yahweh cometh, for it is nigh at hand. And when we see articles like this come out, we can see that the day of Yahweh is very nigh at hand. A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong, speaking of these nuclear weapons, there had not been ever the like, referring to how these nuclear weapons came about very recently, beginning with those 2 atomic bombs dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima during the second woe, World War II. Neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. When these nuclear missiles are fired during World War III, every single one of them will be used, and not a single missile will be left in any silos anywhere. And then after the dust settles, Yahweh Shai, along with the 144,000 who are fishers of men right now are going to be hunters of men in that day with new spiritual bodies, 144,000 black Adams, and the 144,000, Yahushua Ratazah, I'm of that number, are going to go and begin rounding up you survivors of this third woe to slap chains on you so you can serve as the first fruits of slavery in the kingdom of heaven, building it up. And it's going to begin with you elites getting rounded up, you Rothschilds, Rockefellers, DuPonts, Gettys, the Merovingians, Oppenheimers, any of you that survive because you were in your underground bunkers, your undersea bases, or your low orbit space stations. A fire devoureth before them, speaking of the warhead at the front of the missile where the destruction is, and behind them a flame burneth, the rocket boosters on the back of the missiles. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them. Life is going on as normal. Trees, cities, parks, people, and behind them a desolate wilderness. After those nuclear missiles hit their targets, the land looks like something out of Mad Max or Fallout, and nothing shall escape them. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horsemen, and as horsemen so shall they run. Like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap, like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. What you have to remember is that when the prophets saw these visions thousands of years ago, they were in ancient times with regular chariots and horses and spears and javelins and all that. They didn't have intercontinental ballistic missiles, so they weren't going to say the Satan II or the avant-garde hypersonic missile in the scriptures. So they described it the best way they could with what they knew during their times, ancient weapons of war. Again, chariots, horsemen, spears, bows, and arrows. Before their face, the people shall be much pained, people in an uproar, a panic, a tumult when them sirens go off and you start hearing, this is not a test. You have 20 minutes to get to shelter or you're going to be destroyed, which 20 minutes ain't enough to do anything. Any minutes ain't enough to get away from mass calamitous nuclear destruction. All faces shall gather blackness or ash or soot. These people getting burned up by these nuclear missiles to a crisp. Very well done. Hey, asses are going to get burned up too. But this is Zechariah chapter 14, verse 12. And this shall be the plague wherewith Yahweh will smite all the people that fought against Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is a people before it's a place. So this is talking about you heathen nations that came against the children of Israel. You main heathens being you Edomites, who are at the top of the confederacy of nations that came against the nation of Israel in Psalms chapter 83. And the main place of the children of Israel's affliction was the United States of America. Hence why it's going to get the worst judgment. But again, and this shall be the plague wherewith Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. These people getting burned up by this nuclear destruction. Think about that dream sequence in Terminator 2 that Sarah Connor had, where she was holding on to that chain link fence, screaming while the nuclear missiles detonated, and her skin and her eyes and her tongue literally ripped off of her skeleton as she stood upon her feet. But now I'm going to close it out in Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 9, and jump around a bit. Because like I've been saying throughout the video, the two main combatants of this third woe, this nuclear world war, are going to be the U.S. and Russia. And Russia is going to lead these other nations into completely destroying the United States of America. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon, the daughter of Babylon, Babylon the Great, Mystery Babylon, the mother of harlots, the United States of America, an assembly of great nations from the North Country, Russia, because what's north of the United States? Canada, that Arctic Ocean region, and then Russia. And over the past couple of years, Russia has been building back up its military assets nuclear capable in that Arctic Ocean region. And it's a well-known fact that Russia shooting missiles from itself across the north and from its assets in the north from that Arctic Ocean region to hit its targets in the U.S. would be the shortest trajectory time for those missiles to reach the U.S. And that assembly of great nations unto the North Country are not just Russia's allies like Iran, China, North Korea, but also the allies of the U.S. that are going to turn against her at some point during World War III and ally themselves with Russia to shoot those missiles onto the U.S. Read Revelation chapter 17, verse 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, the 10 horns referring to the EU or European Union, beginning with the first 10 common markets of the EU back when it was known as the European Economic Community, and the beast being NATO. These shall hate the whore that rides upon the beast, the mother of harlots, the United States of America, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire, nuclear fire. And we can see that this whole situation that's taken place in Ukraine, as well as many other instances in the past, is really driving a friction and a divide between the U.S. and her European allies. And they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows, those nuclear missiles, shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. Now I'm going to jump down to verse 41. Behold, a people shall come from the north country, Russia, and a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up from the coasts of the earth, from the four corners of the earth, that assembly of great nations unto the north country, not just Russia's allies, but America's allies that are going to turn against her. They shall hold the bow and the lance, and what do bows shoot? Arrows. So this is symbolic for the silos and other launch platforms that these nuclear missiles are going to be fired from. They are cruel and will not shew mercy. Their voice shall roar like the sea, and they shall ride upon horses. Everyone put in array like a man to the battle against thee, O daughter of Babylon. And when you go to Psalms chapter 137, verses 7 to 9, you'll see that the Edomites are synonymous with the daughter of Babylon. Now I'm going to jump up to verse 40. As the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighbor cities thereof, and besides being known as Babylon the Great, the daughter of Babylon in the scriptures, the United States of America is also known as spiritual Sodom and Egypt, as pursuant to Revelation 11, verse 8. And it's very easy to see why the U.S. is known as spiritual Sodom. This is the #1 nation that pushes that alphabet lifestyle, beginning with LG, really a death style, onto the rest of the planet through social media, its geopolitical policies, etc., etc. Just a few examples. Back in June of last year, you had Pride Month, which is huge here in the U.S., and you just had 2 movies come out that flopped at the box office. One called Bros, which dealt with 2 sodomites having a relationship, and another kids movie, a Disney movie called Strange World, which had a teenage alphabet person, male, with a relationship with another male. Saith Yahweh, so shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell therein. So as the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighbor cities thereof, no man shall abide there, neither any son of man dwell therein. And the Most High overthrew ancient Sodom and Gomorrah with fire and brimstone from the sky. And he's going to overthrow this modern day Sodom and Gomorrah with modern fire and brimstone, those 200 million nuclear missiles. And ancient Sodom and Gomorrah is uninhabitable unto this day. And it's going to be no different with this modern Sodom and Gomorrah. And so we know this isn't talking about ancient Babylon, which is in modern day Iraq, because you can clearly see people dwell there until this very day. Verse 39, so man, woman, or child will never set foot on this place ever again, and after a time only desert creatures will dwell here. Therefore the wild beasts of the desert with the wild beasts of the islands shall dwell there, And the owls shall dwell therein, and it shall be no more inhabited forever, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. And when everything's said and done, the former United States of America will stand as an eternal memorial as to what a wicked kingdom looked like, how not to govern the earth, and what the judgment and punishment was for afflicting the apple of the Most High's eye, the children of Israel, again known as the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans today. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. As we can clearly see, we're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites, primarily from Babylon, the United States of America. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babol, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.